Hello, my name is Will and welcome to TechRaptor. Today we're going to be taking a look at a early gameplay preview of the upcoming Blair Witch game from Bloober Team. Anyone who's seen some of the trailers is probably vaguely aware of the fact that the story kind of covers the disappearance of a small boy in the woods, presumably the same woods in which the Blair Witch kind of first started. It takes place over a number of chapters, and throughout you are accompanied by, well, possibly the most popular element, judging by some of the reactions to the trailers online, Bullets, who is your pet dog. You can see this is the first area of the game, and it basically just is a good excuse to try out some of the mechanics with Bullet, who is completely commandable. He is, oh yeah, I mean there you go, it explains itself, really. It's yeah, proper little AI dog. He's called Bullet. He's got several commands, and he's also one of the most useful sort of parts of this, of the game. The way that the developers explained it to me was that the different things you use him for will have a bearing, as it says in that little splash screen before. The way you treat the dog has an effect on the story, at least part of it. And to a certain degree, that is kind of the same. Like, you saw the seek command that pops up. He can go and run for different things. He can go and find things, like here, he finds the note on the car for you and things like that. So if you're getting stuck, he's basically like kind of almost a hint system, I suppose. But using him too much means he spends too much time away from you, and that's not good for either you or him. So it's kind of a toss-up between, you know, having help with the game if you're stuck, and kind of making sure that your dog companion and yourself are doing well. You can also pet him, which I did quite a lot. I assume this will also have some sort of effect, because, hey, dogs like being petted, right? So then, yeah, legit, I did this like 8 times throughout the course of this relatively short 20-minute preview. I just couldn't stop myself. But yeah, as I say, throughout most of the game, he seems to accompany you. He's useful in numerous situations, as well as just going to search for things. He will warn you of any danger that's coming, because he will face towards anything that's, you know, going to get you. He's also just fucking cute as a goddamn button, like, for real. I think it's fair. I think they should put something that cute in a horror game. But they did, so damn those heart-wrenching bastards at Bloober Team. I hope we're allowed to swear on this channel. I haven't actually checked before I started recording this, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it's okay. We're a grown-up channel. The reality is, of course, is that it doesn't really matter if we're allowed to swear or not, because there's no one underage going to be watching this, because it's a horror game. Well, no one underage should be watching this. I'm not going to lie, I might just cut out all of the cutscenes, because, you know, gives me time to recover between, like, actually having to say anything meaningful. Big spooky Blair Witch symbol in the forest there, and yeah, it's the title. Nice. I say they could sell those totems in the middle of the title there for merch, but realistically, you'd just be buying like 4 sticks tied together with string. I mean, I feel like you could just make that. I think it took me a little moment to realise this wasn't a cutscene. I kind of just sat there. Yep, smart. There we go. Either that or that is legit like a bit where you just have to wait for it to load and there's no symbol. So the options are either it's loading or I'm an idiot. So yeah, it takes a pretty creepy turn almost immediately. From what I was being told, these are kind of disparate chapters. It's like this is further into the game. It's not like right at the beginning, this part where you're suddenly in a swamp. Again, this happens numerous occasions later on where I end up in like a sawmill and like a house and stuff like that, where it's not actually connected. It's just, this is like the best way of showing me, or anyone showing us, different kind of level design and different gameplay elements and things. Like, for instance, these are kind of chase sections. Apparently these are going to happen every so often, is that you'll have something to run away from, and you've, well, got to not die, basically. Obviously, because this is just a preview, this is the only one of these chase sections that I've got a chance to see. Yeah, he also seems kind of concerned about death, and he seemed very quick to run. Again, I have to assume that things have taken place between the first part of the preview and this bit in the swamp that made him fearful for his life. Otherwise, he's come looking for a child and is just running. It's like, oh, dog started barking, better run, you know. I think that's the idea, was to not give away too much of the actual story beyond we're here looking for a small child. As you could also tell there, that the bullet was pretty much leading towards the end. It was like, hey, go this way. I think that if you're a bit slower, like if you don't quite know where you're going, I'm assuming that bullet would probably be the way you'd figure out, you know, how to go. Yeah, this bit freaked me out. Not just because it's, you know, actually kind of creepy or whatever, but because bullet left. Yeah, that's another part of the choice thing. Is that you'll come across these totems as you go through the game, and you have the choice of destroying them or not. Destroying them doesn't have the most positive effects because, you know, they're the witch's things, and I'm assuming she's not particularly happy about that. But Bullet doesn't like them, so he'll be happier if you do get rid of them, and it's kind of a choice between the two. Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing that happened. In the several instances I did use the night vision, it didn't seem to be working, but I'm not sure if that was the specific instances in which I used it were cases where I wasn't supposed to be able to see, and in all other cases I used the flashlight anyway. So I can't tell if that was like a bug that's going to be ironed out before release, or if it's just something that was intentionally there, you know, because I wasn't supposed to be able to do things yet. And as you can see, yeah, we jump forward once again to the sawmill / train track sort of area. Yeah. Well, that's foreshadowing and a half, isn't it? During a fight, it says, seconds before I'm in a fight. Again, what that was basically saying here... Oh, here I go, petting him again. Well, I'm trying to. The animation didn't play, but the voiceover did. But, yeah, I was saying he's useful in a fight because the creatures you come up against a lot of the time are kind of sneaky bastards. So you're in the woods, obviously, a lot of the time. They're going to be like behind different trees. They can move really quickly and things. So you're not going to know what direction they're coming from. But Bullet can tell. So if you want to fend them off... There we go. The pet reaction played again this time. Oh, he's a handsome boy. Look at him. I don't know why he shakes his head like that. It's just kind of weird, actually. I don't know why the dog looks happy about it either. I feel like he's probably a little bit sort of freaked out. Yeah, that's me trying to make sure I press the right button. I think that I'm a bit used to sensitive sort of bumpers, and they were quite stiff on the controllers I was using at the time. But here we go. Here's the thing I was going to say, is if you want to fend them off, you have to point the torch at them. There is no active combat. Well, no, that's not true. It is active. This is the first time that Bloober Team have really had combat in any of their horror games. So, Layers of Fear, there was pretty much no combat at all. In Observer, there was stealth, but not really combat. You'd hide from those big sort of robot monsters and escape from them by sneaking around like office buildings and shit. Oh, there we go. But this is the first time they've gone for a more active, engaging combat system. And the way you felt things off, as you can see, is by you have to point your torch at them because they don't like the light. I just realised, yep, I missed that one over there. I just saw it in the video playback, but at the time I missed it. But the way that you find them is, you can just look around, but the best way to find them is to rely on Bullet, because he will sniff them out pretty easily, because he's a dog, and he's a good boy. So those are the two reasons he finds monsters for you. And you can probably tell by the amount I'm moving around here that I'm kind of... It's not like, I don't know how to put this, it's kind of intense. It's a thing when you're spinning around in the woods with your dog trying to find a monster before it kills you. There you go, I think that's it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to trying out some more combat encounters. There was only the one main combat encounter in the preview. But in a way that kind of worked in the preview's favour. One of the things that I was very impressed by playing was how well they as in Bloober Team have avoided the temptation for startling sort of jump scare things. And I know that there's both defendants and critics of jump scares out there, but I very much fall in the critical side of things. I don't think that in most cases a jump scare is actually that scary. It might make you jump, but you know, that's pretty much it. They've gone out of their way, and I think there's a moment coming up here that demonstrates that, to make the scares kind of infrequent, I guess. At least in the preview it seemed that way, where they would spend a lot of time building it up and making a lot of tension, and they wouldn't pay it off that often, because that's the trap a lot of games fall into, is that you don't want to have too much in the scare department, because there's only a certain amount of fear that a person could feel. And it's much better to have that sort of clawing, sort of, oh my god, something's about to happen feeling for a longer period of time. But not too long, obviously. There's still a limit to that. But like here, for instance, it all went deathly quiet. Until the phone rang, I was convinced that something was going to happen, because in, say, a movie, that's when it happens, you know? You can tell, for instance, is it Drag Me to Hell? I think it might be Drag Me to Hell, where almost every single jump scare in that film is completely obvious, because everything goes quiet. Same in lots of other movies, complete silence, the music cuts out, the characters not making any noises beyond maybe some breathing, and then all of a sudden it's like a Blair, something will jump out of a cupboard or something at them. They've managed to avoid that so far. Like this here, it's all very quiet constantly. The music plays during sort of high octane kind of moments, like during the combat or during the chase scenes and stuff. But here, it's just the kind of vaguely creepy, kind of tinny voice of a 90s cell phone. Which I said for the benefit of the American audience, because to me it's a mobile phone, but let's not get into that. It's, you know, you got a tinny noise, you got like no music, you got sort of the weird sort of like swishing noises of the pond nearby, quite a little like generator going now, and a little like hum of electric lights, things like that. It's all very much down to the sort of atmospheric noises. There's very little in the way of obtrusive kind of music, as it were. There's nothing that gets in the way of or sort of brings you out of the experience, which is kind of important for a horror game. You know, if you want to be scared or at least creeped out by it, you need to be immersed in it, and that can be difficult if there are so many elements that keep constantly reminding you that you are playing a video game. Yeah, the other interesting thing about these photographs is that they're actually pictures of the developers. When we were there, we had a chance to ask some questions as well, and that was one of the questions asked by one of the other game journos who was also attending. And I was like, yeah, I kind of just assumed it was going to be. That was always sort of a thing, especially back in the day, was putting pictures of yourself, if you're a developer, into a game somehow. And this really was a perfect opportunity. And the good thing is that it's done in such a way that it fits. Like, if they hadn't chosen to do pictures of themselves, it would have made just as much sense as if they did. If you get what I'm saying? Like, the pictures don't go, oh, look, it's the developers inserting themselves into the game. It's like, here are pictures that are kind of creepy because they're in the style of the movies. But it's a nice little Easter egg too. So the development team get to be in the game. Now here's another one of the new elements that's being brought on for the Blair Witch compared to the older games. These videotapes, you can actually rewind and fast forward. They give you a little bit of like backstory to the area you're in, but also they affect the world still. So as you can see, that door that wasn't open before is suddenly open. At first, I thought this was because of that little bit of text where it's like, oh, we're not alone. I thought someone had opened it. Then I realised that this is the mechanic where fast-forwarding and rewinding videotapes is how you solve certain puzzles, because you need those they affect the world. So, like, say you're watching that tape, and as you can see, the door opened. That's because in the tape, the door opened. Same with the door over there, although I'm not sure how long it takes me to figure that out. You can fast-forward and rewind to open and close different doors and things. Again, because this is a relatively short preview, that was the only instance of that I got to try. I'm pretty damn sure there's going to be a lot more of that in the actual game. So I think here at this point I'd figured out that was doing something. So I rewound all the way, and I think I figured out when I stopped it where it was. I think I had a look. I was like, oh, that hasn't affected that at all. And then I turned around and saw that the door was closed again. I'm hoping that's what happens, because otherwise I just look like an idiot right now. I suppose the thing is, I've explained to you, there you go. It's like, oh, that door was open again a minute ago. Now I finally figured out that it was the videotapes doing the magic. Yeah, there we go. There we go, past me, you idiot. In my own defence, it was quite warm that day, and I had to travel all the way down to London, which is a several hours journey for me. So I like to think that my my brain was travel fried slightly. There we go, look at that. That's another good thing, there wasn't any sort of like musical trill or sting for solving a puzzle. As nice as that is from a design standpoint, it's probably kind of immersion breaking in other ways. It's like a walk through, it's like da 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 da. I'm like, whatever. But they avoided that, which is also good. So yeah, that's the other interesting fact. It's just that note, I didn't really register that at the time. I think I was too busy, playing a horror game in public. You never want to seem too scared. You want to seem like appropriately scared. I think I was trying to focus on not letting the game get to me too much. But yeah, that's an interesting little clue, is that it seems like it's not just the witch who's doing stuff. And then here we go. We're approaching the sort of final area of the preview now, which I think is also probably one of the longest. Let me just check time code, and I can. Oh well, I suppose I've got about 5 minutes left, and we've gone through about 3/4 of it. So, yeah, here we are. So again, another jump forward, and we're inside some sort of house. We're focusing on the video camera. There we are. So yeah, this is an interesting sort of point, is that the video camera seems like it reveals things that you can't necessarily see with the naked eye. And again, I'm not sure if this is the night vision. It seems to be. But it's kind of flickering. I also only just noticed that the scratch on the screen of the camera is in the shape of one of those little wooden totems. But yeah, as you can see, it looks like you kind of use the camera in its night vision mode to see things like symbols drawn on the wall that you can't always see. It comes into play a lot more later on, but as you kind of caught it out the corner of the camera eye there. There's kind of a little trail on the ground that leads somewhere. I think I was aware of that, but I also wanted to explore a little bit, because this is one of the first sort of chances you get kind of to freely explore that isn't kind of too open, if you get my meaning. So it's like when you're in a forest, it's like, yeah, you can freely explore, but it's a big fuck off forest, you just can get lost. Here I was like, this is like, explorable, it's methodically searchable for little clues and extras. I also wanted to see if I could confirm if it was the house from the films or not. But I couldn't confirm one way or the other because, I don't know, there's lots of stuff. Yeah, I also noticed that the tape I had was still from the previous thing I did, and I'm not sure if that means that these areas are really close to each other, or if it's just because it's the preview build, they just kept the same tape in, and there would have been several between the two. I'm not sure. But, I'm also, that's another thing I'm not 100% sure on, because, again, as I say, very short preview, I wasn't sure if you can freely swap between tapes, say you've got more than one. I'm not sure if you'd want to. I don't really know if that would have any bearing. I also have to assume it's quite a bit later on this area, on the basis that Bullet isn't here, which, well, I'm not the most happy about. I'm worried about him, I feel this is sentiment shared by most of the other people who saw the trailer, considering the amount of people from TechRaptor who wanted me to ask if the dog was going to be okay, and apparently this was a question that other people had been asked to ask the developers as well. So I think the general consensus online is that the dog needs to live. So, Yeah, and you see, it kind of becomes very PT here in a good way. Oh, I just heard the creepy noises, and here it goes. It's all going off, boys. Yep. He's a big scary man. But yeah, as I say, it's very, very PT. It's trippy, kind of Escher-esque, Escher-like, Euclidean sort of geometry and things. Like you're going through these areas you've been through before, but everything's different and a bit weird. It starts getting, as I say, trippy here. Which is something I'm kind of glad they lent into a little bit. I like the idea that things are a bit more overtly supernatural than they were in either of the two good Blair Witch movies. But yeah, as you can see at the corner of your eyes, there's little markings around the place that kind of give you a bit of hint about where you're supposed to go to. You can also see that the state of the house is different now that I've gone through it all once, because the upstairs is now blocked off entirely. that door to the basement I went through before is locked. And overall, it's each time you go through things, they're different, you know. So that's one of the things I am most interested about seeing about the full game is how these areas are connected, because obviously they have quite different sort of designs, as it were. Like, they're all very physically different. And to a certain degree, I'm curious about how they connect all these things. As you can see, yeah, this is where things... I think the house is definitely going to be the point where things start getting... I don't know how to say it. What's the best term to say? Where things start getting YouTube Let's Player kind of scary. And by that I mean creepy enough that they won't even have to exaggerate the jumps. And here we go. Yeah, don't look. I took that to mean that the monster was nearby, because he said about sneaking past it. And I just was like, he said, don't look, said, okay, I'll just keep the camera pointed at the floor and follow the trail of ectoplasm. I wasn't sure if this was working out because of the way the camera went all funny, but I stuck with it. Yeah, I had to abandon the path at that point because it didn't seem to be working anymore. Yeah, and then the camera effect went off and this started happening, so I was like, yeah, probably should just look up now. I think I did the right thing there, I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, apparently it must be fine for me to swear because, let's be honest, Ellis did it. This is pretty much the end of the preview. I have no idea who that voice is. And yeah, the game will come out, as you can see, on the 30th of August. You should check out TechRaptor for our coverage of the game. We're going to have a full review when it comes out. And we also had an interview with the developers, which you can check out at the link in the description. Thanks for watching.